All right. So, second order of business will be the election of officers. The floor is now open to the nomination for the office of chair.
So we don't need all of the members to do this?
We just need a quorum.
Oh, okay. All right.
Stumbling all over each other.
Yeah. I would nominate Board Member Tripp.
I'll second that.
Okay. Nominations are now closed for the office of chair. All those in favor of electing board member Tripp as chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Good.
We will now do the same for vice chair. The floor is now open for nomination for the office of vice chair.
I would nominate board member Moore.
I'll second that.
Nominations are now closed for the office of vice chair. All those in favor of electing board member Moore as the vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The chair will now be conducting the meeting.
Okay. So we can move on. Public comment. If any member of the public would like to address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject not on this agenda. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment and go to approval of the minutes for the Architectural Board Review meeting of June 18th. And if anyone has any comments on those minutes, starting at item 1. Two. Or
I was
any,
absent, so.
you were absent, okay.
Pretty solid.
I have one on minor, one on 5.
Okay.
I don't know if it needs addition or not, but to the end of number 4, if we clarify, was it just at the patio or exterior lighting for the building as well?
I think it was just for the patio, because I think
like
that
it was
was
just
the
for-
only area they were,
Right.
but we could say that, exterior lighting at the patio.
Just for clarification. Right?
Yep.
It was really meant, because they really just had those cafe lights.
Yeah,
It was really meant to be in addition to that.
right, to augment that.
But, yes, exterior lighting at the patio.
Or do you want
So
us to
can we add
addition?
that? So item 5, number 4. Just adding at the patio, so it'd say alternative exterior lighting at the patio. Mhm.
And maybe number 6, where it says, and the structural makeup and layering of all of the trellis members. It's a little confusing because it says study varying the height of the interior trellis and the structural makeup and layering of the trellis members.
Those are like 2 different
Yeah.
comments. One was varying the height at the interior, and then a second comment was
I'm sorry, which number are we on?
6 on the same, on item 5.
Got it.
It should be two sentences at least, because, and I think the layering of the trellis members is more for the exterior, the perimeter.
Right, they didn't quite seem put together correctly. So study, maybe 2 sentences. Study varying the height of the interior trellis.
And then motion 7 would be study the structural
Yeah, and layering.
makeup and layering. Okay.
Yeah.
7 becomes 8.
Then 7 becomes 8.
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Can you
Do that?
Yes.
make it and then still abstain? Yeah? Okay. All right, motion passes. So consent calendar for June 25th and July 2nd.
For the Architectural Board of Review consent agenda for June 25th, item A, 1298 Coast Village Road was postponed indefinitely due to lack of a reviewer. Item B, 3968 View Lucero was given project design approval and a minor zoning exception. Item C, 529 West Victoria was given project design and final approval. Item D, 2904 De La Vina Street was continued 1 week with comments. Item E, 1922 De La Vina Street was given project design and final approval as submitted. And item F, 988 Miramonte Drive, number 7, was withdrawn at the applicant's request.
Okay, do we have a first?
First.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
For the ABR, who was the second? Sorry.
Bob.
Great. For the Architectural Board of Review consent agenda, July 2nd, item A, 431 Old Coast Highway was given final approval as submitted. Item B, 3968 Via Lucero was given final approval with comment. Item C, 400 block of Old Coast Highway was given project design and final approval with comments. Item D, 2904 De La Vina was given final approval as submitted. Item E, 150 South Lacumba Road was given project design approval. Item F, 1298 Coast Village Road was given approval of its review after final as submitted. Item G, 3940 State Street was given approval of review after final with comment. And item H, 1818 Castillo Street was given approval of its review after final as submitted.
Move to approve.
Oh, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, announcements, requests by applicants, future agenda items, and appeals.
Just wanted to announce that Richard Six has been appointed by City Council to be on the Architectural Board of Review. He will be joining us shortly, either today or next meeting. Also wanted to announce that the appeal for 402 Anacapa, the short-term rental conversion at Anacapa and Gutierrez, is going on July 10th. We request that one of the makers of the motion, either board member or Chair Tripp or board member Cunningham, attend that meeting to represent the board's prevailing decision.
What's the date again?
July 10th, it's Tuesday of next week.
Next Tuesday.
I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. Out of town.
I can probably make it, so can plan on it.
Okay.
I should be here.
Alrighty. And
When is the agenda posted as far as when it, will it be in the, towards the beginning of the meeting? Do we know?
I would have to get back. We could talk
We
through
could talk
email,
after.
and if it doesn't
Yeah.
work out, we can ask other board members if they can step in. But
Sure.
I don't have those answers with me right now.
Okay.
In terms of
Yeah, I think the last time maybe the planner emailed it, the information.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. Items 3 and 4 have been postponed by the applicant at the applicant's request. So we only have 2 items today. Items 1 and items 2. Item 2. 15 South Alisos and 500 Fowler will be heard today.
Okay.
And board member Cunningham will be stepping down from item 2. So I hope we have someone to come in for item 2.
Howard's supposed to be here.
I have not heard anything to the contrary.
Maybe we should
I'll give him a
call
call
him.
once we.
If the applicant is here.
The applicant for 15 South Elise Street. Sorry.
Oh, I meant for
Fowler?
Item 2?
yeah, I think for item 2. Maybe we should just confirm while we get started on the first one.
Sure.
That we
Absolutely.
have enough.
I believe Irma Zweta, design review supervisor, will be checking in.
Okay. Okay. Then subcommittee reports. Do we have to go through the subcommittees also? Or is
No,
that
it was we discussed that as staff, and because former chair Gradine was not really on any of them, we don't really need to reappoint.
okay?
There has been conversation. Staff would like clarification about who is coming in for consent starting next month. I know that it was
I said I would finish the summer.
finished the summer. Okay,
So starting September, Kevin.
Vice Chair Moore.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. So then we'll move on to item 1, 15 South Aliso Street.
Hello, Howard. You'll just be back. We only have 2 items. Yeah, 3 and 4 postponed.
All right, so this is for project design review. Action can be taken. Proposal for an additional duplex on a parcel currently developed with 2 residential units. Project involves the demolition of a detached 2-car garage, an accessory structure, and the construction of a 2-story, 3,400 square foot duplex. The unit mix on the site will be 4 2-bedroom units. Will be 4 2-bedroom units, ranging from 669 square feet to 1,439. Also proposed are alterations to the existing landscaping, reconfiguration of the parking arrangement to include 8 parking spots and 692 cubic yards of grading. A minor zoning exception is requested for the over-height fence and pillars within 10 feet of the property line. And the project is also requesting approval for an alternative open yard design. If you can state your names for the record.
Trevor Wellman, CSA Architects.
Elsa Reeder, CSA Architects.
Kevin Small, Plein Air Design Group.
Natalie Cope Phillips, CSA Architects. If you have no objections, I'd like to unroll this plan set. It has just an updated landscaping sheet that just better coordinates between the 2 drawings. Is that acceptable?
Not for PDA.
Okay.
All right. And so you're last here on February 12th, 2018, where we had kind of a list of comments. Do you want to go through those one by one?
Can I do that personally? Okay. I'm going to flip to the site plan to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. So as a reminder, our project is at 15 South Aliso Street. We're proposing 2 additional units, Unit B and C, with existing Units A in the front and Unit D in the back. We are replacing Unit A's parking with a 2-car garage, and Units B, C, and D will have 1-car garage with 1-car uncovered parking space. Each of the new units will be 2 bedrooms and will have approximately 1,000 square feet. Our changes to the plans will go as followed according to your previous comments. We will first discuss the architectural comments, and then we'll reach the landscaping comments after. So your first comment was to provide a path of travel for pedestrians from the street all the way through to the last unit on site. With the restrictions of the existing units A and D and the existing driveway at 11 feet with a small planter area. There is no logical way to include a pedestrian path of travel, so to help aid that, we have removed the gate here to allow unrestricted resident pedestrian access to the site. And even though there is a pedestrian path of travel back here, it doesn't really make sense to allow people to go into the backs of the units as an entry. So that is why we have not included an official pedestrian path. Comment number 2 is to provide both a site plan and landscape plan that shows existing and what is proposed. As you can see, this is proposed, and the previous site plan is existing of what is on site. And our plan is to remove this portion of the deck here. That would be alongside the garage area.
Okay. So currently there's nothing
Yes,
in
currently
between
there's
these two structures.
a lot of gravel.
The demolition of that garage has already occurred. So you mentioned in your opening
Oh,
statement
right.
about that 2-car garage demolition as a part of this project. That's already happened. That's being addressed as a violation, just so you have an understanding of what's going on there. There's only gravel there at this time.
Okay.
And there's an existing pond here that will be removed. Comment 3 is a landscape comment, so we'll get back to that later. Unit 4, study the entries and tie them into the walkway path so pedestrians are not entering directly off of the driveway. To help aid with this situation, we moved back units B and C as far back to the property line as possible. As you can see, unit C and D garages are pushed all the way to the setback line, and this helps give us ample area in the front of units B and C. Number 5, study pushing the proposed gate back away from the street. As mentioned in the previous comment, we have removed the existing gate that was here to allow for unrestricted resident pedestrian access to the site. Number 6, work with a landscape architect or someone who is knowledgeable on how far to maintain the clearance from the avocado tree and the parking space. It's right here. And we talked to transportation about this issue, and we have to keep the parking spot here because for unit C and D garages to work, you have to have enough travel to allow for a car to back up and come this way. And we have talked to our landscape architect, and he says there is no issue with the avocado tree. And then number 7, provide a front elevation of the existing first unit for context and show any walls or fencing. This is provided on page A2.4. As you can see, we have provided the front elevation of Unit A. And we show the new construction in the back to give you some context of what that would look like. And if we may add this as a supplementary image of what Unit A looks like from the street with the existing landscaping and fencing.
That's what it currently looks
Yes.
like. Yeah.
Yes, currently.
Okay. Do you want to go through the landscape?
Okay.
Design.
And then landscape is provide more height within the landscaping, especially at the property line. The landscape plans.
This is the area that I was told that comment was referring to. It's also a utility corridor. so we can't really put any large plant material in there. So what I did was I put in some dwarf citrus in there that the
You just
height-
have to move that so it's right in front of you.
I'm sorry.
So that you're, yeah. You just have to speak into that.
The area along the property line behind the units is what I was told that comment referred to, but it's also a utility corridor. There's numerous utilities running through there. So I was really limited into what plant material I could put in. The only thing I put in there was some dwarf citrus trees that aren't going to be deep rooted. They're shallow rooted and a small root ball type of plant. Then what was the other question? The avocado tree. I've been out there and I realized that area is not going to have much of an impact on the avocado tree. It survived many years without irrigation and care. So I'm sure the roots are deeper than any grading that would happen for the paving. I've also told the owner that I'm available to supervise the grading of that area when it happens. I'm a certified arborist, so I do that sort of work all the time. You asked for a complete an inventory of what was existing. So the last page is that. There's a full inventory with panoramic photos of the existing site, so you can see what's there. And was that all?
This is the front looking towards that front unit, and then this is looking at the back unit.
Yes, that is the back unit. So it's two opposite directions. So one's a picture from this direction. They're A and B. You can see there.
Yep,
So-
okay.
Can you identify these? Are these existing trees?
Yes.
What are they?
They should be called out right there.
They don't show on this photo, or maybe there's one.
All
This is-
three are Scheffler, Arbor?
Yes. They actually look like plants that somebody got from a florist and stuck in the ground many, many years ago and just have been allowed to grow.
How tall are they? 20 feet?
Yeah, about.
Okay.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation? Is there
I
anything
believe
else
that
that's
was all the
changed?
landscape-related comments?
That
right?
was.
Okay.
Yes. That's it. Thank
Okay,
you.
All right. So we'll open public comment. Would anyone in the public like to speak on this project? Seeing no one, we'll go to questions from the board. Howard, do you want to start with questions?
So I see a difference in your parking
Yeah,
plan and the landscape.
yeah.
Which is it going to be?
It's the architectural version.
Yeah, 'cause it really comes out.
That is the item that I have updated landscaping plans on in hand that we aren't able to put out right now, but I do have that coordinated so that if you wanted to see it at some point, we can show it to you.
So that is determined by transportation. They need that much space to do a complete maneuver?
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's excessive, but I'm not the guy. I'm just a civil
Yeah.
engineer. I just think it's excessive.
So the transportation department made a clear point of allowing only one maneuver. So you could definitely make that turn with more than one maneuver, but they wanted specifically one maneuver to get out. And so that was all we were allowed.
I know about those templates.
Right.
That is excessive. They can do was a Y. A Y is a one maneuver, and this thing is a complete 90 degrees. I don't understand that.
I do understand your statement. We've had a lot of back and forth with the board on this item, and unfortunately,
Our board?
yes, we've talked about this tree and trying to protect it, and we've come here to this board and talked multiple times about trying to move that space. In fact, that's why we have the inconsistency in the
Yeah.
plan set now, because we tried to move it away for you. And then we went through to get back to see the board. They give us a preliminary cursory plan check that included a comment from transportation saying, no, we can't do that. So
Well,
it's
they-
difficult to,
Their call, but I still question it. That's my only question.
Okay.
tree here is Magnolia stellata. It's not existing, is it?
No, it's not.
Is there any reason why that couldn't be a much taller tree? And to follow up, is there room on the site to put any other trees that might reach the right?
Might reach what?
It's your mic, not mine. That might reach, let's say, 25 feet in height?
I could explore that. We're pretty tight on planter space. That's about the only spot I've got to put something taller in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how deep is the utility corridor, and what are the utilities involved?
I believe it is electrical and sewer.
And gas, I believe.
Okay.
And those are all existing to serve the
Correct.
drinking water?
There's stormwater in there.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Kevin? David?
So yeah, since we're on this page, the private area of Unit D on this plan appears a little bit wider than it is on your guys' architectural plan, or at least what's delineated as a private outdoor living space. I think it was just a second.
The outdoor living space, are you speaking about the open yard areas?
Yeah, you have a diagram earlier in the
We-
set that shows a rectangle that's a little bit smaller than what's shown right there.
Right, and this is hardscaping currently existing, and we have a private open area on there that we're counting. That's the current exhibit. Is that addressing your question?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. If there's a line right there, is that actually all paved yard that's private, or is just some of it being calculated?
It's currently just a pad in the backyard, and it's existing, so we weren't planning on removing that concrete, but we've got it delineated as a piece of it being private and a piece of it being open.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's, so how do these, I look at the landscape plan here, it looks like more of a walkway leading to a bigger yard that's private, and so I don't see how the use is functioning in that corner. I guess tucked away in that corner. Unless there is something that's maybe a different scheme that I'm seeing. Because they're really nice planting areas, but I don't see necessarily functioning as common use areas. In this area, this area, and this area.
That pad back there is existing.
This one here?
I'm not sure how it was determined what was public and what was private in there.
Do you guys want to clarify maybe how those common spaces are working?
Yeah.
So this common space, sorry, is probably the most usable. There's open yard here for people to play ball or something. And then here, that's a concrete pad, but you could still have like a barbecue area or something of the sort. You could play a game there. And then here is kind of like a meditation area where you can go out and read a book or just relax. And that's how they're
Is this planting right
common.
here? This, how do you pronounce that? Crupia?
Crupia?
Crupia.
It's a ground cover.
Okay. So that could be used as a sitting area or gathering spot if it needed to be.
It'll tolerate a little traffic, not a whole lot,
What would be
but
more
it's a very
traffic-friendly?
drought-tolerant ground cover.
Is there another ground cover that'd be maybe more traffic friendly since that's being used as a common area?
I could come up with something, sure.
And then this other area too, I guess this looks again like more like a walkway, so I don't really see how that functions as a gathering spot for a common area. Is there some kind of amenities you guys have considered that maybe can be improved right there?
At this point in time, I mean, the walkway is not existing. We can get rid of that so that it is more of an open common space. We could just get rid of the walking path at the moment. It's not necessary and it's not there.
Okay, thank you. And then I think under the, I don't know if there's a violations or maybe just a proposal that there's an existing AC unit that's going to be, I guess, permitted to remain in that spot. Can you guys show? Yeah.
Sure. If you go back to the existing site plan in the architectural set, it gives you a little bit
That
of...
or two, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Right. It just, we have it listed in there showing
Specifications.
specifications and.
Is that going to be surrounded with something like maybe a little enclosure or something, or is it freestanding right now? It's open.
It's freestanding, and it's currently right next to the deck, so it's tucked in with some plantings, and it is somewhat shielded, but not greatly.
Would there be some ground cover around it to kind of shield a little bit?
No.
Are there other? No?
Isn't it on paving? It's not on, it's
It's not on the deck, it's on the ground on a
There's no-
pad.
landscape around it.
Is there going to be landscaping around it?
There are currently plants and pots that are there next to the deck,
Gotcha.
all around
Not
that
in
area.
grade
Not in grade, no.
landscaping.
No, not that.
Will there be other AC units proposed for any of the other units on site?
No.
Nope, just that one. Okay. And these 3 spaces at the rear, sorry, I can't see it. Are these guest spaces, those uncovered, or are they a part of the unit counts?
They're currently part of the unit counts. We've got them listed as one of the spaces for the 2-bedroom units.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
it's
see
for
it, so
these
that-
3.
So there's no, is there any guest parking on site, or is it just for residential?
Just assigned for residential. If a unit only had 1 car and they wanted to allow their guests to park in their space, they could do that potentially, but there's no visitor parking.
Okay. And then the front wall, that's been like an earlier discussion, I don't know if it was resolved, how there was, I think, an attempt originally to kind of keep a portion of the wall existing and not have to do the updates on it. Was there any?
Front gate?
Yeah,
To the
was-
front fence?
Yeah, did that get all straightened out?
Sure.
Is it-
Well, as you can see here on the site plan, we've got the view corridor showing. And so what we've asked is that we can, a waiver, not a waiver. What's the exact terminology for that?
Minor zoning.
Minor zoning exemption, yes. So what we're asking for is that we be allowed to reduce the vegetation to the 3 feet allowed in that area, get an exemption for the column itself. But we're only able to address that on our site. The planting and the fence line there belong to the neighbor, and so we can't fix that part of it.
Is that part of you guys' waiver too, just getting that kind of written off as a, okay? Do we have to?
I'm not sure that we need that, seeing as it's not our parcel. We can't, we
but
don't have any.
Do we need to weigh in, I guess, on this parking waiver that it's supportable in any way? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a minor zoning exception is requested, so we would need to make the finding.
Cool. Last question. The materials was called out vinyl units for the doors and windows. Can someone else on the board remind me if we've seen that yet, or if that was already something that was discussed and approved? Or maybe you guys can.
Well, it doesn't have, they're here for project design approval, so we,
Do you guys have any recollection if
I
the
don't think
materials was
that
proposed
we,
prior?
I don't think we,
My understanding is it was brought up at one of the last meetings, but it wasn't the most recent meeting, so we did not change anything on our proposal.
we asked for them to keep with the character of the front building, including roof forms and window types.
In one of our earlier iterations, we had a different operating style of window, and we moved everything in one direction at your request. And so we have not changed that in this current review.
But the
the
side,
last-
the entries were revised too, right? The entry
Yes.
off the side, the middle units?
Yes,
Okay.
at request of the board, yes.
No further questions.
Okay, so just to, can you go to the floor plan for this building?
That's one more, right?
Isn't that-
I thought you said that's existing.
I think Unit C
The-
is what you're looking for.
What's at the back? Isn't that D?
Yeah,
The back house is Unit D.
D.
There?
Unit D is right here.
So the orientation is this way,
Correct.
so that you enter into the kitchen?
No, you
Where do you
enter
en-
into the family room.
So it's this way. So you enter here.
Correct.
So this is the private open spaces back here?
Correct.
Okay. And the kitchen basically their kitchen door opens out here
Right.
into this common, what's being called. And then as far as what you have for common open space, is this like the minimum amount that you have highlighted?
It's over the minimum.
Okay. Which area is the alternative? Because that one is also, we have to approve the alternative open space, and that's there.
It just doesn't meet the minimum dimensions requested, so that's, or required rather. And so that's what we are requesting the alternative design for. That we be allowed a small reduction in minimum dimension on that area.
Okay. I guess how do you see like this back area being utilized by like all of the, this kind of makes sense, but I'm just wondering about the areas that wrap behind the other units, how it's going to be utilized by all of the tenants.
So I would definitely look at it as more of a passive park-like. You can go back there and enjoy the open space, read a book, like Trevor said. We'd be happy to provide a bench or two for that.
Is this fenced in?
We don't currently have it delineated as such.
These ones are fenced in though, right?
Correct.
These,
But as you
and
can
then
see,
this is
yeah,
not fenced in. So
Correct.
this is just all open.
correct.
Okay. All right. That was the only question I had. We can go to comments. Howard, comments?
Architecturally, this is a nice project, and I think it's very appropriate. But there are some site use things that don't make sense to me, and starting off with the this so-called maneuvering space for the one car that seems to need excessive amount of space, including going up to within 3 feet of the avocado tree. That, to me, is either a misinterpretation or miscommunication of what this is all about, unless the story is really not a complete story here. It looks to me like they want a place to have tandem parking. But this is, once you make the turn, all you need is one car length. You don't need a turn, a car length, and another car length. So I question that. Number two, I am concerned that the so-called community spaces are wrapping around buildings which have really pretty much proximity and control of those spaces. I see this space here in that corner and this space here between parking garage for Unit D and Unit D as being candidates for a common space. In case of Unit A, this seems to be more controlled by Unit A. This space that's marked private space for Unit A, the red, that seems to be an area that could open up and be common space to both buildings between Unit A parking, garage, and Unit A.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
clarify something for zoning. The applicant does show it as common space for the blue area on their plans.
Yes.
Really, there needs to only be one space on site that is 20 by 20 that is accessible by all units. The rest, this is really a requirement for open yard, which is just undeveloped land on the site, not necessarily accessible to everyone. So it's mislabeled on here, but I just wanted to clarify that they're trying to meet open yard requirement, not a common open space requirement.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
okay.
because it's called out as common open yard.
Right, and that it really there's only one area that should be 20 by 20. I believe it's supposed to be the unit between Unit D and the garage. That was supposed to be the common open yard, and the rest was just meeting the open yard requirement.
One thing that's nice about this development is that each of the units does have access to a lot of private open area. And even without those green shaded areas that could become private, and there would be no loss to the common. The two other site features that concern me, the as-built air conditioner unit is essentially parked in the middle of permeable paving. I don't see any screening around that. I would think that should be screened. Mm-hmm. And it really doesn't need to be sitting on permeable paving. It could have its own little planter or whatever. And then with regard to this issue of the view corridor and permitting the existing brick pillars,
Can we see a
This is-
photo that you have?
I think there's a better solution than this that would not involve asking for a modification or a minor zoning exception, and that would be to remove the two brick pillars in the front, right next to the driveway, and move them back of the shaded area, and rather than doing an angled fence, just come over straight and straight to create a little kind of a planted, at least from your side, you can't really control that side, but you would have two entrance gates that were back from the street, providing maybe some landscaping, some place to have a little address or some little feature that would be a nice way to enter this complex.
So you're saying get rid of this pillar on
Get
this
rid of-
side?
on each side, yes.
And move this pillar over
Yes.
here?
Move them back and create a rectangular, more or
Have
less.
this be
Yes,
just the landscaping?
yes, yeah. Those are my comments.
Okay. Bob?
Okay, I agree with Howard with regard to the parking maneuvering. It just doesn't seem to me that, the third car should have to park further to the east than the other two. The other two, each of those has to make a similar maneuver in a tighter space. So I really just don't understand why that third car needs to go that close to the avocado tree. So I think I would appreciate it if you would revisit that with transportation. And, really, as Howard says, maybe there's a misunderstanding. I think it's got to be resolved in a way that doesn't involve that much more paving. That, to me, to Howard, I don't know about the others, just doesn't seem to be necessary.
May I attempt to answer your question now, or would you like me to hold my comments?
Let's just keep going through the,
It would answer both of yours, but go ahead.
Okay.
I'll answer later.
Thank you. Unit B has a planter in front that appears to be at least 8 feet by 8 feet, which could accommodate easily a pretty substantial tree. So I think you need to consider adding some landscaping in that location. I think the star magnolia should be replaced with a taller tree. Get more shade, some tall shade. And also the star magnolia tends to want to be a bushy tree, not really a canopy tree. So with a taller tree, I think you'd have better use of that space. Underneath it, sure. I never get this right, sorry.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay. You don't want me to repeat all that, do you?
no, I think after the magnolia tree.
Okay. With regard to the magnolia tree, I think it's not the right form or the size for that space. So a taller tree that'll provide some shade over the space with room for people to circulate under would be more appropriate. With regard to the Carapia ground cover, I don't think you could come up with a more traffic-tolerant ground cover other than just a regular grass. So I think that's an appropriate plant for that space, with the possibility that you may have a problem with the shade from the adjacent building on the south side of it. So if that's a concern, I would suggest maybe using blue sedge, which is a carex. I don't recall the species name, but it's tolerant of sun and shade and can take considerable traffic also. Looks like a blue lawn. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Or do you have any comments on the fence and the pillars at the front
I think Howard makes a good suggestion. I think they are, that's a problem. I think for pedestrians on the sidewalk and approaching cars from the driveway, it's an issue. So it needs to be addressed, even if it involves dealing with your neighbor to relocate the column on that side.
Okay. All right, Kevin?
As far as the open space, I think Matthew's explained why it works, and I'm in agreement with that. I think it's nice to have a lot of elbow room on the site, and I think that's what it's providing. I think it's all certainly fine, and in dealing with the transportation department, if that's what they're requiring, then that's what unfortunately is what's required. So we can gripe about it all we want, but
Doesn't make sense.
I agree. It's frustrating, but that's unfortunately what's required. I agree that because there will be more traffic coming in and out, that the entrance needs to be addressed in some way. I'll leave it up to the applicant to figure that out. And then we were going to weigh in on this little zone, right?
Yep.
I think that's
Alternative open yard.
right. I think that's fine, acceptable as presented. So I agree that some larger planting could be added there just for everybody's benefit. But other than that, I think it's a nice project and ready to move on.
Okay. David?
I agree. The open yard alternatives are fine as presented. I don't see an issue with those. And I guess because of the clarification, it looks like the common open yard is fine. You guys meet that intent. You're not asking for anything special. Okay. I think the solution that Board Member Whittosh presented for the front approach, I think that's a solution to explore. My issue overall, I think right now is still the fact that we're intensifying the use by adding this duplex, but that there's still not a pedestrian design that's being integrated. So I'm struggling with that. I think if it was an existing layout and you weren't building more units, I think the driveway would probably be an acceptable solution as it is. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means you go back to transportation and try to get it down to 10.8 or 10.6 for a driveway and see how much space you have left over to make, paving on the same plane, just a different paving material or something to push it right up against Unit A. But whether it runs parallel with the driveway you guys have now, or you go back to exploring running a pathway on the other side of the property, which would be safer, but it's cutting back your yards now. I like that solution personally, keeping on the other side of the property away from the vehicular access, because the use is being intensified on site. If you guys are able to find a good solution, though, that uses the existing driveway and again, has some kind of material that just shows a differentiation just for visual considerations, I think that would be maybe a solution that would be worth exploring, because it's less meandering. I think going that way, obviously, you can touch the units a lot quicker, but there's a lot of other considerations like landscape, tree locations that have been raised as well. And so I'm not saying that should counteract those. I think those are also good solutions, but I think personally that needs to be studied more, just based on the premise that the site is being intensified. Everything else, though, I think the architecture is fine. I think the solution you guys came up with on units B and C's entries, I think that's nice. The roof plans, everything else is looking fine. One other issue I would have is the material. It's noted for the doors and windows that'd be selected by owner, and I would prefer that you guys present something to the board. If it is going to be vinyl, I think something that has a deeper recess, has a better fitting, I think, profile, so it doesn't scream budget window. For cost considerations, I think there's a lot of options out there that are worth looking at, and I think for this type of project that's appropriate. But I'd prefer that you guys present that to the board versus letting it be selected in the field, if that's okay. And those are my comments.
One quick thing. What are the windows on the front house? Because this one back here looks like a wood window, but
I think it's a combination. I think that there are some that have been replaced with vinyl, and some are the original wood windows that were probably installed in the house.
Okay.
What do other board members feel about the material?
Yeah. I guess, yeah, how do board members feel about basically using vinyl windows for the new buildings? How many board members find that acceptable?
Depends on the proposal.
Huh?
Depending on what they propose, yeah. But material-wise, sure.
What is the material of the existing?
Mixed on the front house.
Mixed? Mixed, what mixed?
Wood and vinyl.
I
Wood-
believe
wood
wood
and
and
vinyl?
vinyl. We can go verify that to be exactly sure and come back with an answer and tell you that.
Yeah, and with the spec of what you're
And
proposing.
the architecture of the new buildings is matching the architecture of the building in front?
Correct. That's the intent.
And then the other thing, because I kind of had the same feeling for the pedestrian access that David just mentioned. So how many other board members feel that there should be a pedestrian path through the site?
It's, I think, very paramount.
Okay. All right. Just because it's come up on other projects, I think it's important. Okay. So then I can take a stab at crafting the,
Would you like us to
Motion.
respond to any of the questions? I think I could answer a couple of them, if you, specifically the transportation requirement.
well, I think that really it's whatever the transportation is asking you to provide, so.
I was just going to let you know, just for the clarification, it's not for the car that's shown right there in the parking space. It's for the two cars coming out of garages C and D. They need to back up when that current car is shown as it is in the parking space. So I just wanted to help clarify.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
And lastly, if you would like to see some examples of, many examples right around us that do not have any pedestrian access from the street to,
But it's kind of a reoccurring thing that we've seen on other projects, and so I think that one seems like the board does want to see pedestrian access, and we've asked this of other projects.
I understand.
also.
I'm just saying, I'm not sure how we're going to widen
I know.
where the existing house is. I can pave it something differently and take out the landscaping, but I'm not sure that you'd like me to take out landscaping.
We're going to ask you to address putting in pedestrian path, which was actually on our list from the last meeting, so it hasn't been addressed yet.
I'm just asking if you can give me some examples, because right now the examples I'm finding are not that, and so I'm asking for help, that's all.
So I have a suggestion.
Yep.
So you have existing paved driveway. What is the pavement? Is it
Asphalt.
concrete or
Asphalt.
AC? or-
Asphalt in that particular
Asphalt.
location.
So I would suggest that you remove that asphalt paving and come up with a paving pattern that is visually a cue that maybe has two little pathways for wheels and one little pathway for feet, and make it kind of a storybook thing. You can meander it around, but you're going to have vehicles and people using the same space. Otherwise, because you cannot move your building or slice off an end of the
Correct.
building.
I understand now.
That
Now
would
you're
be
just
the-
asking for just different paving, but you're not asking me to increase the width. Is that
Well,
correct?
that's not, all right, hold
That's
on.
not a-
Let's
that's
not, all right.
Okay.
I think what we're asking for is to address a pedestrian path onto the site, whether it's within the paving here, whether you redesign coming through this back way. So we're asking for a pedestrian path through the site. That would be, apparent if someone was walking.
Yeah, there's more than one ways to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So there has been a couple suggestions. So.
Okay, we'll
it's-
do
and
one
it's-
more. We'll try to get there.
So,
There's just,
because we have
one more comment.
we need to make the motion,
I-
so.
it's a
just-
comment, it's something that we can't change. And
All
so
right.
that's the only reason I'm bringing it up, is the column at the corner of the neighbors. There's two columns, one on their
Correct.
side and one on our side. It's a double column.
We're only dealing with what's on this property.
But does it make sense to remove something if half of it has to remain? That's my question.
All right, but we also need to make a minor zoning exception finding, so.
If you changed one of them, you're halfway to a better solution.
Right.
Better situation.
Okay.
You're halfway more safer.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion would be indefinite continuance back to the full board with the following comments for the applicant, just to, or we'll leave the parking stall, to provide a larger tree between Unit D garage and Unit D, and which would replace the star magnolia tree. To also provide a tree in the planter in front of Unit B. And then a suggested replacement for the ground cover between Unit D and Unit D garage, possibly blue sedge or a material that would thrive in the shade. To study the site plan and to provide a pedestrian path from the sidewalk through the site to the rear unit, to each of the units. To restudy the entrance at the driveway to provide the visibility required. And a suggestion was to remove the two pillars right adjacent to the driveway. To provide screening at the existing air conditioning unit that will remain. And I think those are the main items.
Door and window material.
Oh, and to provide the door and window specification that you plan to use. Anyone like to second?
I'll make the second.
Bob, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you. That's a tough site.
Did you say that you support the open space?
Hmm?
Did you say you support the open
Oh,
It is a tough site.
yeah, we did support the alternative
Nice little project.
open yard design. Yep.
You have a full sign committee now.
I have a full sign committee. I have extra members. I don't even know what to do.
Take some time off.
All right,
Take a day off.
thank you. Item number 2, 500 Fowler Road. Right.
Ready for number 2?
And this is a continued item, 4th concept review, and it's comments only, and it requires planning commission review.
Punch something.
It's the proposal for 7 new photovoltaic solar carports to be located at the Santa Barbara Airport's long-term parking lot.
So I'm Randy Arnson with Endelos Energy. And I'm going to be submitting another drawing package we just finished today. That's on the electrical equipment and ADA handicap parking.
Great.
So from our last review, we've added a solar canopy over the handicap parking. Other than that, everything's the same. And we've completed your suggestions on the landscaping. And unfortunately, everybody's on vacation. so we're probably going to move to, more comments at another meeting. So
We have our comments from the last time. Yeah, I think we found the layout of the solar panels as being acceptable. We requested additional screening along the road and suggested using trees that are being proposed to be removed from the other airport property to this area. Further studying of the screening for the transformer, and then provide photos of the planting. Further screening on the roadside, at the roadside entrance. And then to bring in the structure for the proposed solar panels so we could review it.
So, okay, so we've created a whole bunch of renderings to answer all those questions. Now, some of the landscaping's not in there, but they're in the drawing, so that's where Aaron would have to come in
Okay.
on that one. So,
Well, we can look at. Is this existing?
nah, that doesn't show.
Just the landscape,
That's
just the
just-
landscape plan
yeah,
in here?
Yeah, it is. Well,
What page is that?
The L1, 2,
and 3.
and 3. Okay. So 3 has the proposed planting. So we had asked is there the opportunity to move trees that were going to be removed to the other property to this?
Well, we're going to have
area?
to, take them out and then replace them because of the roots, different things. So that's what we're planning on doing.
Okay. Are those,
So there'll be brand new trees, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
and then the screening of the transformer equipment?
Right, that's the new drawing package, or
Yes,
the
here.
renderings. So you can see, here's, this is where all the transformers and everything is right here.
So, back behind these.
So, yeah, so if you look at the last 2 pages, that's without the landscaping, what that'll look like. That's with just existing that we have there.
So this is existing,
Yeah, and then what we're gonna
And
add, it starts from the front. Should have put that in the front, but you know how it works.
this is proposed.
Yeah, that's what's proposed right there.
This is proposed, this is what's there.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
So all the palms are going away?
No, the palms will still be there, so are they in there? Okay, so the palms didn't show up in there. Like I said, we just threw this together today.
Yeah.
Confident in the accuracy of the heights of all these?
Yes.
What you're showing? And
Yes.
Okay. And then the photos of the planting? Might be on,
I don't think there's any photos.
okay. And then the structure for the proposed solar panels, is that in?
So that's in those drawings right there, only we're gonna be doing a gray undercarriage there. This, instead of white, all this will be the gray color that you suggested.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to represent that in the renderings that we did.
Okay. So has anything else changed?
That's it.
All right.
We're ready to roll, I hope, so.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation?
That's it.
All right. So we'll open it to public comment. Seeing no one, close public comment. Go to questions. Howard?
2 questions. Lighting,
Yeah, there's lighting underneath the canopies. That's LED lighting.
Downlights
Downlights, dark sky.
and
Compliant.
the color?
It'll match the same color as whatever we paint, gray or white or.
So it'll be a warm color, not a
It'll be a gray. Right now, it's currently gray.
The light, the
Oh, it's
output of the lamp.
It's 4,000. Could be 3,500 Kelvin.
okay. And everything, irrigation. Do you have plans to irrigate these, maintain these planters?
Yeah, the irrigation is already there. We'll just be putting in a drip system.
So you're planting basically in existing planters.
Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Kevin?
So I just want to be clear, this obviously doesn't show trees and things in this area.
Yeah, we're not touching that area right there. So.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
confusing for us to see all these different things.
Yeah.
Is there existing lighting back there?
There's post lighting. There are 22-foot poles.
That's these,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and then there's also some trees, I think.
Okay. And you don't, because we'd like to, move you along, but, can you tell us more about?
That's where Aaron would have to come in. He's adding some trees here to block the appearance of the arrays.
Okay. Because obviously we're going to have questions about them, like when they're planted, because they're noted as 30 feet high. Is that at the time of planting, or is that when they're fully grown?
I think that's probably when they're fully grown.
Okay. Yeah, I think most of my questions would be about landscaping, so
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think so.
a moot point.
Has the HLC landscape architect taken a look at this?
Not that I am aware of, no.
Okay. We should probably do that. And-
Staff wasn't aware of Board Member Cunningham's conflict of interest with city projects until today, so
Oh,
sorry for that oversight.
okay. Did you have more comments?
The renderings, so all these sizes that you're showing here, those
are pretty close to
they're
scale.
pretty
Yeah,
accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned lighting fixtures. Are they surface mounted underneath there, or are they shown at all in the renderings? Or are they?
No, they're not in the renderings, but you can in the photos you can see a typical.
It's in here, right?
Yeah.
Is where the lighting is. They're in those recesses. I think you can. I think it actually just looks like wiring for the panel up above. Is that a light?
That is a light, yes.
So what is it?
Canopy light.
So it's like a flat LED
Right.
kind
Square.
of thing. Okay.
You've been on like a gas station canopy, square. So
Yeah. Well, I would encourage you, as Howard recommended, to try and get a warmer light, so it's not a cold, stark white light. So get that temperature down, 3,000 or below,
okay.
if possible.
Going at 3,000.
I'm recommending that you explore your options and the lighting type, and that you provide a warm light. And I think other than landscape questions, those are all my questions.
David, any questions not on landscape?
We still in question period?
Yeah, on L1.4, there's a site wall that's being shown. It's going to help shield some of those new electrical equipment from the parking area.
Right.
So there's a lot of notes in to match existing. Do you guys have photos of like what the column caps are that you guys are going to match in the tiles?
It's going to be identical to what's there, so I don't have any pictures of that. So.
Which walls are there? Like which side?
There's
are
a
matching?
there's a little pedestal wall, I guess.
This guy.
There's this. There's this.
Yeah, I can get a better picture. Yeah, so we're going to match. That's the
Just have to
identical to the.
Gotcha. So I guess whatever tile bandings occur. Oh, thanks, Karen.
I don't think there's any on the handicap side of that, so
Yeah,
There's just some tile at
it's just mostly
The front
mostly
part.
at the
there's
sign.
this
Oh,
image
yeah.
too that's showing a little bit of tile banding, and then the new elevations showing it, or
Okay.
it's calling out something to match right there at the top of these column caps. I was just curious what element on the site, if it's something on the building or something out there in the parking lot. So that'd be something to
Yeah, I'll do
confer
that.
with somebody
Yeah.
on what you guys are going for. And then on that guardrail above it, it's calling out a mesh, I guess. So it looks like there's some pickets, and then there's kind of metal mesh that's going to go on one side of those pickets.
That's a good question for Aaron. His plan is some sort of growth across there too. So,
Okay. So the mesh is used to maybe help.
Yeah, with the growth.
Okay. And then sounds like it'll probably be a landscape question, but I'm going to ask anyways. Is this like this area here built up like a berm at all, or is it going to be all level?
It's all level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions. That's it.
Okay. I don't really have any other questions, so we can just go to comments. Did you have another question, Howard? No? You want to start with comments?
Sure.
And it is comments only, still.
Right.
This, very worthwhile project. And I like what you've presented. I think I just need to see some elements, materials, and colors that we were just speaking about, these
Yeah,
tile
okay,
colors
sure.
and sample of this grill that Aaron wants to use to grow plants on. And I'm concerned that it's getting a little too metallic up there. We have the pickets and the knuckles and the balls and the, and then we have also the metallic. I'm just wondering how much, that's a lot of material up there.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask the applicant, I know Aaron and
Yeah, okay.
he'll study it, but if he needs both. I know he has the traditional ironwork because of the Spanish walls and the plaster walls and the tile caps. But if he needs something to grow plants on, does he need both? That's a question.
Okay.
Comment and question. I would like to see a cut sheet on the light fixture that's there.
Okay.
And I would like to echo the comment about the warm light. And I guess it's the lower the number, the warmer.
Yeah, right.
So 3,000 or less. And I'm just wondering, I guess I did have a question on rainwater collection. How do you handle the water that's falling on all these panels?
They just flow the normal path of.
So the panels are on top of a roof
They're
that
actually-
collects the water?
Yeah, actually, the panels is the roof. Okay.
They are the roof.
Yeah.
So are they, when they're joined together in large formats like this, do they shed water without leaking? And
No, they'll leak and they'll shed water, same thing, so.
okay. So they're pretty much permeable panels.
Correct.
Okay.
If it ever rains here,
Well, And it's been, the color of underneath here has been discussed.
Gray.
Right.
The white was my idea. They got blue out of the water. It's real clean looking.
Well, have we talked about this water situation, dripping on cars and so forth?
No, but I mean, no, we haven't, but it seems like it shouldn't
So
really
this
be
is-
an issue.
this is
Right
like
now,
a-
there's nothing,
Yeah.
so,
So this is a shade structure. This is not really a roof keeping the water off.
That's correct.
right, it's a shade structure
So there
with
won't.
solar
So the,
photovoltaic panels.
this is probably around several hundred cars here, including high-end cars that will be parking under a structure that will be dripping over the long term. Is this long-term parking?
It is, but
Yes.
if you look at it is. Right now, the alternative is nothing's out there.
Well, there is a possibility, I've seen this before, of using small gutter systems between panels, so that you have a little 3/4 inch channel or whatever it is that actually separate the gap between panels, and the water goes into those channels and then sheds. It'll go somewhere, but it won't fall in between the panels.
Is this footprint wider than the footprint of the parking stalls?
Yes.
So it wouldn't actually drip on the car if it's parked
Well, there'll be
underneath
some
it.
leakage in between the
Well,
panels.
But,
Yeah, I mean, the panels
It's-
are bolted together, so there's just a construction joint. There's no sealants or anything like that there.
okay,
My comment would be, I like the project, but I do know that being an airport customer and having friends who are airport customers and how vain they are about their cars, and they get dusty and then the water falls on them. Maybe they sweat in the morning, I don't know. But I think we'll get some feedback if in fact you don't address the water issue. So I would ask the applicant to address the water issue, the dripping issue.
So
All right.
You can
if
say
I
that-
address that, it's
Well,
cost prohibitive.
Yeah,
I'm putting millions of dollars in these footings.
Yeah.
To worry about a little bit of water.
okay, so that's your
That's a
comment.
comment. It's a
That's
comment.
it, that's
Alright.
Howard's comment.
it's not going to be a deal killer, but it's something
Yeah,
I'd
okay.
ask
How
you
do
to-
other board members feel about this comment about a gutter system? How many other board members feel like it's necessary?
I think it's nice, but I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Like I
So
said, there's nothing there right now.
okay.
It's not about the architecture. Architecture's great.
So, all right,
Yeah, it's
So it'd
not
be
about
1 to
car
3.
storage, it's about
that would be 1 to
solar
3.
panels.
Okay. Comments?
I think my comments would be mostly about the landscape, and so I guess I would encourage the landscape architect to send the drawings, the PDF drawings, to Matthew, who can coordinate an HLC review of the architecture, and to also ask them to pay close attention to the site walls and how they are detailed and constructed. Because right now it just sort of says match existing, but does that mean there's bullnose corners on the plaster? What is the color of the ironwork and all that? And when you do return, we'll want to see color samples for what you're planning on painting the underside of these canopies and the columns and lighting fixtures, all that fun stuff. Okay.
Do you want to see a panel, or do you know what a solar panel looks like?
No, look at just the color of, like, you're saying it's not going to be white, it's going to be gray, but
Right.
which gray?
Okay.
Yeah, I think more
Let's
of this
see.
structure, like the paint color that
Yeah.
is that it will be.
Okay. So the airport has a color palette they use, so it's one of those grays, which Andrew picked out, so
Bring your selection.
Yeah.
we'll do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
David?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to those comments, I agree with everything Board Member Moore said. This is something more for landscape too, is just clarify, it sounds like those existing trees at the front can't be relocated, so at least identify what the new trees will be to replace.
Okay.
It is, I turned it off wrong way. But otherwise, the project as proposed is fine,
Okay.
save for those comments.
Yeah, I agree with the comments that have been
Okay.
stated. It also would be good to know, because there's certain columns that are pretty clean and then others that have the boxes. Maybe to show where those are located if they're not. Looks like they won't be at every single
I don't know how
one.
this one got in there. Okay, so I don't think that's my picture. To be
So-
honest. Okay, so.
Just to show where the
So
actual equipment would
Okay,
be.
so what you'll see on these is all the conduit and everything runs inside the beams, okay? So all you're gonna see is you're gonna see a box, and then you'll see these cable trays that'll run, and we're hiding all the cables, all the, this is my airport too, right? So I want it to be clean, I want to be kind of a gateway into the city, where they go, wow, this city is renewable, and so this whole thing, it's cost me a whole bunch of extra money to go do this, but it's because it's my airport, okay? So
No, that's great. That's so.
so you won't see this.
Okay.
Far from it, okay?
All right, great. Otherwise, yeah, I agree with all of the other comments. I think it's a great project. We'll get some clarification on the landscaping and materials.
Aaron had to take a vacation,
So-
I'm telling you, the guy.
It would also be good.
Can't trust these guys.
It would be good in these plans to also just see
Yeah,
the existing trees
Okay.
and lights,
okay. we can put that
since those are
in. Okay.
remaining. Do you need us to summarize the comments, since it's comments only, or can we say indefinite continuance with the comments that were stated?
So a motion would need to be made. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we do indefinite continuance back to the full board with the following comments that the board finds the board is in support of the project. We would like to have the HLC landscape architect review the drawings and also to just address or to look at it with the previous comments that we had stated as far as the additional screening along the road and providing photos of the planting, and just to make sure that all of the existing trees and light poles that will remain are on the proposed drawings or renderings.
Okay.
To also update the rendering at the transformer equipment to show the palm trees that would remain.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
To provide just the materials board with all the colors being proposed, including the materials being used at the site walls and the tile, the wrought iron, to have the landscape architect restudy the use of the mesh in conjunction with the wrought iron to see if it's necessary.
You want
To
him
pro-
here? You want Aaron to come to the next?
Yeah, yeah.
Bring him along.
Yeah.
He's a colorful
He was supposed
guy.
to be here, but he,
Yeah.
Provide a cut sheet
wanted
for
to get paid,
the
too. I said,
for
"Wait a
the
minute."
light fixture on the underside of the structures, and to provide a warmer light temperature.
Sure.
Were there, did I miss any? Okay, we have a second?
I'll second that.
Great, David seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Motion carries. Great, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And that concludes our meeting for Monday, July 2nd.
You going to have any extra electricity that you can sell some people?